Welcome to Hot Work Safety presented by Environmental Health and Safety. This training is designed for those who conduct or oversee hot work at NYULH Health, owned and leased facilities. At the end of this course, you should recognize hot work and its hazards, employ alternative to hot work and reduced risk of hot work methods, understand NYULH Health's hot work safety policy, including responsibilities and permit requirements, plan, inspect, and manage hot work, including high-risk hot work, and implement appropriate hot work safety measures. Hot work poses significant smoke, fire, and indoor air quality hazards to patients, staff, and construction personnel. Hot work can also pose an explosion hazard when proper precautions aren't taken with compressed gas cylinders and tanks. Evacuation of non-ambulatory patients is of particular concern in a smoke or fire situation. In addition, hot work incidents can cause unnecessary fire alarm and sprinkler activations, disrupt patient care and other NYULH Health operations, and cause damage to facilities and infrastructure. According to the National Fire Protection Association, nearly 4,000 structural fires are caused by hot work annually, resulting in an average of 19 civilian deaths, 120 injuries, and $292 million in property damage. In 2016, a fire occurred during construction of our Kimmel Pavilion building. Rigid foam insulation was installed on a setback roof prior to completion of welding at the unenclosed building perimeter above. No effort was made to prevent slag from falling to a lower level, and no protection or fire watch was in place on the setback roof. Thankfully, no one was injured. However, the resulting smoke and fire negatively impacted patient care in Tisch Hospital and caused $11 million in direct property damage. Where possible, hot work should be avoided to eliminate the hazards associated with it. Work shall be designed and planned to eliminate hot work where feasible. Alternatives to hot work include, but are not limited to, mechanical fastening and bolting, the use of crimped, clamped, flanged, threaded, hub-no-hub, and PVC piping, the use of lock ring fittings in oxygen tank farms, hydraulic shears for demolition, and cold-apply roofing products. Where hot work cannot be eliminated, reduced hot work methods should be employed, which includes performing hot work off-site when feasible, using a reciprocating saw with limited spark blades for cutting, performing hot work in an outdoor area at grade or in a controlled stationary indoor location, then raising or lowering joined material in a shaft, or completing all required hot work prior to the introduction of combustible materials. Please note that reciprocating saws do produce heat and limited sparks. Their use is considered to be hot work, which requires a permit. NYULH Health Hot Work Safety Policy contains requirements from applicable building and fire codes, OSHA regulations, and National Fire Protection Association standards. It also contains NYULH Health-specific requirements. Hot workers must be qualified, and where required by the authority having jurisdiction, certified. All hot work operations must be overseen by a trained, and where required by the authority having jurisdiction, certified fire watch. Hot work is defined as any work which produces flame, sparks, slag, or heat capable of initiating a fire or explosion. Some examples of hot work include brazing, grinding, solder ring, torch-applied roofing, torch cutting, and welding. Though the sparks produced by a reciprocating saw are limited, it is still deemed hot work. Certain types of hot work pose special hazards and are considered high risk. Examples include hot work on or over a roof, performed at height in a shaft or on a tank, in a confined space, on painted, coated aluminum or stainless steel surfaces, or performed in and around active medical gas systems. These types of high-risk hot work must be planned in advance with environmental health and safety. In New York, where hot work is authorized on a roof, a New York City Fire Department, certified S56 construction site, fire safety manager must be present to oversee the work. Outside of New York, a person with similar training and experience, subject to review and approval by EH&S, must be present at all times. This is in addition to the required fire watch. Where hot work cannot be avoided, the controlling contractor's competent person or facility's foreperson must obtain a daily hot work permit for each hot worker through ATG NYU Langone's online permitting system and must affirm all of the safety measures to be implemented. Please note that a separate fire watch is required for each hot worker. Permits must be requested at least 48 hours in advance, with all required certifications submitted for approval. A copy of the approved permit must be posted in the hot work area. The completed and authorized permit is valid until the end of the worker's shift, or when work is completed, whichever comes first, the time specified on the permit, or if there is an emergency involving or affecting the work area. In addition to obtaining a daily ATG hot work permit, the controlling contractor's competent person or facilities foreperson must also complete a hot work inspection checklist prior to the start of any work to ensure that all necessary protective measures are in place. This checklist can be found in Appendix B of the NYULH Hot Work Safety Policy. The controlling contractor's competent person or facilities foreperson shall upload the completed inspection checklist to the ATG system. Due to the hazards it poses to patients, staff, and contractor personnel, hot work must be carefully planned and conducted. Smoke and heat detector shutdowns must be requested in advance with facilities or the building manager. Engineering or the building manager must be contacted prior to the start of hot work, and when hot work is anticipated to extend beyond the approved shutdown in time, and once hot work is complete, to prevent unnecessary fire alarm activations. A separate fire watch must round occupied areas whose fire detection system is impaired. The barrier separating hot work and occupied areas must be smoke tight. In construction areas, a sheetrock barrier must extend to the underside of slab or a fire-rated barrier. In construction areas which lack an existing, full coverage sprinkler system, this barrier must be 1 hour fire-rated. Penetrations in the hot work area must be sealed with fire-resistant materials such as sheetrock, tightly packed mineral wool, or Hilti firestop.
Openings in ductwork, which extend to occupied areas, must be capped with sheet metal and duct sealant, unless otherwise indicated by EH&S. Air handlers and ductwork access panels must be sealed smoke-tight. In mechanical equipment rooms, general exhaust is to be run continuously during hot work. For hot work near air intakes, the fan must be shut down and the intake sealed with plastic. Occupants in the vicinity of hot work should be notified in advance.
The fire code requires that sprinklers remain active during hot work. Sprinkler heads in close proximity to hot work must be protected by using a damp cloth or a non-combustible barrier. A fan shall also be used to disperse heat. No open flame or other sources of heat are to be used near a sprinkler head. Where facilities determines that adequately protecting a specific sprinkler head is not feasible, the head is to be removed and the sprinkler line plugged and refilled prior to performing any hot work. Once hot work is complete, all protection must be removed and any heads that were capped must be reinstalled. All flammables and movable combustibles within 35 feet of the hot work area must be relocated. Combustibles include, but are not limited to, cardboard, wood, including flame retardant wood, plastic, masonite, foam insulation, and chemical products. This is the most commonly observed deficiency during environmental health and safety hot work inspections. Only immovable combustible materials, such as a roof membrane, installed millwork, debris netting and paper-backed insulation, and openings to adjacent and lower areas, are to be fully protected from sparks or slag with fire-rated welding blankets. For hot work atop a roofing membrane, only wet welding blankets are to be laid down. Plywood is combustible and can be displaced by high winds. To prevent combustible debris on the floor from igniting, the floor in the hot work area and any open areas below must be swept clean. The hot worker must verify that oxygen cylinders have been tested within 5 years of the date stamped on the cylinder. For acetylene cylinders, it's within 10 years. The hot worker must inspect all torch equipment daily, ensure that components aren't damaged, are properly assembled and tested for leaks using soapy water. All compressed gas cylinders, including smaller B-size cylinders, must be secured upright in a cart or carrier stand, a safe distance away from the hot work. Electric welders must be hooked up by a house electrician or an authorized electrical contractor. Welding leads are to be inspected for damage. They are not to be run across equipment pathways, through water or a doorway, or in contact with conductive materials or sharp edges. Where use of a torch is authorized for hot work, UL-listed flashback arresters with integrated check valves must be installed. Flashback arresters work to prevent flame from traveling back to the hose, regulator, and cylinder. For dual gas torch operations, flashback arresters shall be installed at both the torch and regulator. For single B-size cylinder gas torch operations, a flashback arrestor shall be installed at the regulator. In addition to the equipment requirements for the work area, the hot worker must also ensure proper fire prevention measures are taken. The hot worker must be named on the hot work permit and must be able to produce the required certification or license if asked. They must also wear the appropriate personal protective equipment for the type of hot work being performed. Hot workers shall not wear combustible high-visibility vests when conducting hot work. Fire watch must be present at all times during hot work and continuously for 30 minutes post-hot work with no other duties. They must be named on the hot work permit and able to produce the required certification or evidence of training upon inspection. The fire watch and the hot worker are both responsible for removing flammable and movable combustibles and sweeping the floor in the hot work area. They are also responsible for protecting non-movable combustibles and openings with welding blankets. The fire watch shall prevent sparks and slag from traveling to adjacent and lower levels. Where this is determined not to be feasible, additional fire watch shall be posted in other areas at risk for fire. At a minimum, each fire watch must have a 10-pound ABC dry chemical fire extinguisher immediately available. The extinguisher must be charged and the monthly and annual inspection tags up to date. Where specified, a charged water hose must be immediately available for use, especially for hot work on roofs. The hot work team is to supply their own fire extinguishers, not use site or house extinguishers. Fire watch must be familiar with race and pass, the location of the nearest fire alarm pull stations, and the applicable NYU Langone Health Emergency phone number to report a fire. Fire watch must have a charged phone or radio. In New York City, the fire watch must maintain a log for 48 hours post-hot work. During hot work, a smoke eater must be in use at the point of work to control fumes. Where there is the ability to exhaust fumes out a window or using a dedicated exhaust, we should do so as long as there are no nearby air intakes or operable windows for occupied areas. In New York City, where the hot work area is accessible to persons other than the hot worker and fire watch, a caution, hot work in progress sign must be posted at the entryway. The hot worker must ensure that gas cylinders are turned off when unattended and capped prior to transport. Contractors must remove oxygen and flammable gas cylinders from the building when not in use and at the end of each day. Facilities personnel must transport cylinders to the designated permitted storage room. Cylinders are to be transported secured upright in a cart. Cylinders are not to be carried. Electric welders must be powered down when not in use and at the end of each day. The fire watch must remain on site for an additional 30 minutes post-hot work to keep an eye out for any fires that could flare up. The contractor's competent person and facilities foreperson must remember to close out hot work permits in ATG when the work is complete. If you have any questions about hot work safety, please contact the Environmental Health and Safety Office at 212-263-5159. Thank you.